I just don't understand. You had no problem with us attacking anyone else. Why take pity on Robbie Keane?
Look, I wasn't taught the difference between mercy and honor, and I paid the price for it. If I'm extra hard on you, it's only because you have the potential to be better than I ever was. You want that, don't you?
Yes, Sensei.
All right. And stop whining like a little bitch and get out and finish your drills.
Welcome to No Mercy, a Cobra Kai Kickback. My name is Jacob Burrows, and I represent Miyagi-Do. And I'm sick and tired of my students thinking everything I say is a lesson. Sometimes a toggle bolt is just a toggle bolt, and that's the real lesson.
Yes, my name is Jim Scampoli. I represent Cobra Kai because even when things are on an upswing, my abusive ex-karate teacher will show back up and we'll have a badass fight involving fire. And we're joined by a very special guest this week with Cobra Kai Kid himself. Drew, go ahead and say hi to everybody, Cobra Kai Kid. Drew.
Hello, everybody. What's up? Bonsai that's my main quote. I am the balance between Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do. I can't really choose. I like them both.
I'm sorry to say that me and Jim are going to try to steal you to our separate dojos during the course of the episode, as is our right and honor.
Okay.
Now, before we get into the episode, I want to talk to you a little bit. So, yeah, you do go by the Cobra Kai Kid. You have a YouTube channel, and like with Cobra, when it comes to Cobra Kai stuff, you're on it, dude. Like you're digging up information like hidden in set photos from Instagram behind the scenes pictures, digging up spoilers, remaking. You did a remake of the pilot episode, correct?
Yes. I recreated the entire first episode, word for word, scene for scene, all the camera angles, all the sound effects, as much as I could do.
Yeah, that's sick. So like, well, I mean, you're obviously a younger lad than us. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
That's good. I'm 17, so I'm a junior in high school.
So now because I'm older than Jacob, so I have this nostalgia factor of like the Karate Kid movies and then getting back into Cobra Kai. Jacob has that to an extent. So how did you get caught up in the Cobra Kai fandom? Did you have that same thing, or did you see the movies before you saw the show? Like, how did that come about?
So I actually saw the show before I saw the movies. So like my parents never really they're not really into Karate Kid that much. I mean, my mom like said she had a crush on Ralph Macchio, but like they never introduced me to that. So
Who didn't?
I was on YouTube one day. This was like 2 months after it came out. I didn't even know it existed, and I was so bored. I just saw, it's Cobra Kai. Like, I'll just put it on. So I was doing something else in the background. I just had it on, and I was like, oh wait, this is actually really good. And then I found out you had to like pay for it, but I found like an online website to watch the rest, and
nice.
I watched the whole thing, and I was like, this is amazing. So then like I rewatched the series, and then like when I rewatched it, that's when I really got into it. And I didn't know, I knew the basic story of Karate Kid. You have the kid Daniel Russo who trains under Mr. Miyagi, but I didn't really know I didn't really know like all the names of the characters. I didn't really know like the whole story behind it. I didn't even know there were like 3 movies or 4 if you want to next Karate Kid. But
I think there's maybe like 2 movies, but go on. In my opinion.
So I rewatched, I watched for the first time the actual Karate Kid movie. So it was kind of like I went back and I was like, and then I picked up all the references, all the connections, and it was awesome. And since I didn't grow up with the first 3 Karate Kid movies, since I watched Cobra Kai first, I personally enjoy all 3 Karate Kid movies because I want to see Terry Silver in season 3.
Yeah, I'm with you though. Jacob's we both have fairly low opinions of Karate Kid 3, but I'm excited to see Terry Silver, or the option of maybe seeing Terry Silver and maybe the bad boy of karate, Mike Barnes. So I'm with you, my man.
I'm with it for Mike Barnes. I'd like to see what he grew up into, but Terry Silver, we know he's just going to be one of these billionaires ruining the economy, hoarding all the wealth. I continue to be so, in my opinion. But yeah, so it's really interesting because, like Jim said, like for him, you Jim watched them all the films when you were younger, right?
Yes.
And I would have seen Karate Kid like when I was maybe your age, Drew.
Yeah.
And then like I got into Cobra Kai and then we watched the films for the podcast and everything. But so it's always really interesting to judge like how much is nostalgia helping this. And I think Cobra Kai is a great example of where like all the media builds on one another. Like it gets instead of just trying to ride on the wave of like you still like this thing so you're gonna enjoy this too, right? Like instead it's like it's trying to elevate it and make it something different and something new, at least when it's at its best, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, like, the show was meant to bring in, like, you knew the guaranteed audience was going to be the fans who watched the Karate Kid movies. You know, that was the guaranteed audience because they were like, they knew about it. Oh, it's a Karate Kid sequel. But for people like me who never even like heard of Karate Kid or just never really watched it, like that was like what they had to do, and they had to get that younger audience, which I didn't even know about Karate Kid. I just watched Cobra Kai, and that's how drawn I was to the show. That's how good the storytelling was, because you had like you have the older generation and the younger generation, and I think it's a perfect balance. They don't like hide the older generation to build the younger generation. They balance both generations. So for the fans who like Karate Kid, you have Johnny, Daniel, Crease, and then for like new fans, like I relate to now Miguel, Sam, Robbie. But then now it's funny because like since I've watched Karate Kid and I love it so much, when I remember when I saw the season 2 trailer and you saw Crease, Johnny, and Daniel have that confrontation at the mini mart, I got nostalgic, and I didn't even watch those movies first, but I was like, oh my god, like the three of them from Karate Kid are back, and I'm a new fan, so that was just something funny.
No, that's really cool, and because we've discussed it or gone, like Jacob was mentioning, we've been trying to get out of our own heads of like, do we love this show because of nostalgia or because they're referencing something we know, or is it just a good show? And we've always been like, nah, it's just a good show. But you're giving us more proof that it is, because if you came in just kind of pretty fresh and watched it without that reference. So when you watched it for the first go through, they kind of make Daniel in season 1, especially like towards the beginning, is kind of a dick. So without having those movies to anchor you and be like, nah, this is Daniel's son, he's going to find his balance. Like, were you more, you say you're balanced now, but were you more of a Cobra Kai person on your first watch through?
I don't honestly like, because it wasn't like the first time I watched a show where I really got into it, where I was just like immediately obsessed. I thought it was a great show, but then it took me a couple of watches. So I don't really remember, like, I wish I could go back and remember like the first time watching it, because that's always like the best experience, because you're taking everything in for the first time. But yes, I think in the beginning, like Daniel was posed out to be the bad guy, but then like later on, I really love all the like the Miyagi, like all those things where he's teaching Robbie, being the Miyagi to Robbie, because like even when I didn't watch Karate Kid, just something about like teaching him about balance and about like making the right decisions in life that like really spoke out to me. And it was just very like calm and relaxing. And like, it just like, sometimes I would like take his advice and like meditate and like really like just find my balance if I ever got whatever. But then you have Cobra Kai, which is like strike first, strike hard. And it's about confidence. So like, like Cobra Kai, like watching the Cobra Kai side also helped me with like my confidence in life and whatever. But I don't think I would say Daniel's not the real bully. Maybe when I first saw it, when I didn't know Karate Kid, I thought he kind of was, but now I don't think so.
Well, I do appreciate that, like you said, you're going for balance. You root for both sides, because I have seen, like, peeking into the fandom, it does seem like a lot of the fandom people kind of go one way or the other. Like, I see people that hate Daniel, like
Yeah.
they're like, oh, Daniel's the worst. But yeah, I mean, going the other way, we're not much. Jacob and myself will. I look into news and stuff on when things are coming out, but I try not to dig too much into spoilers. You don't seem to have much of a, like, you don't really care if things get, I guess, quote, spoiled, right? Because you're kind of digging for any type of information you can find on the new season.
Honestly, what I'll cover, like, honestly, I haven't really covered, like, I'll report something if I find it, but like I don't want to know like the big stuff. Like I don't want to know who's coming in. I don't want to know all these things. And I mean, there's just some things that like I've happened to see. Like I was on there was like the other day I was on Pain and List.
I don't mean to cut you off, but
Yeah.
if you're gonna say a potential, I don't want to know.
Sorry.
I mean, if you could just be if you just be broad with it, just in case.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be that guy, but
Jim's a very careful man. He just struck first on your information there.
No, you're good. I was on Pain and List, who plays Tori, her Instagram. She posted something, and I saw it, and I won't say what it was, but like we don't know if it was for season 3. She didn't say if it was for season 3, but I said, but it was like with other Cobra Kai pictures. So I was like, well, I'm pretty sure that would be for season 3 if she was posting with other Cobra Kai pictures. But and then on IMDb there's some stuff, but I don't purposely like try to find. I really haven't reported many like spoilers, just like announcements for when it's coming out. Because honestly, if I had the script right now, I would not read it. I don't want to be spoiled as much as that. It'd be hard to believe because I'm reporting all these things, but I really don't report spoilers, just like little things if I saw, but nothing. I don't want spoilers. I want to enjoy the season.
Yeah, just some speculation. Fair enough.
Speculation, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, for someone who's, fairly active, obviously, in the Cobra Kai fan community, and also from a slightly younger generation, like, I'm trying to get a gauge of how popular Cobra Kai is with people, just out of interest, because I want to talk about it with everyone I meet, and most people are like, huh, what? There's TV on YouTube? And like, but then me and Jim are in our sort of echo chambers. So like, when you talk to people or whatever, like, have people watched Cobra Kai that you know of, but before you sort of brought it to them in an evangelical sort of way, which is what I do to my friends?
No, I've asked everyone, literally every person I met. I'm like, hey, have you watched Cobra Kai? No one I know watches it, which is crazy. I've had to introduce people to it, but then I started the YouTube channel, and it's absolutely insane. I didn't know that this many people were into it. I always just enjoyed it for myself. I never had anyone to talk to about it, but now on YouTube, there's just so many people who are into it. And so many people are really passionate, which is crazy. Because I thought I didn't know how many people out there that liked it, but there's a lot.
Yeah, so it is like, I mean, outside of finding people online, it is like us, because we're doing the same thing. We're talking to our friends like, dude, have you seen Cobra Kai? And everyone's like, what? No.
But it's so strange because there's so many shows I like where I wouldn't even bother doing that, trying to get people involved. But with Cobra Kai, I do that. And it's strange that a show that garners such passion from people like us is still not like something that's being viewed like that isn't in the public eye as much. Like, it's obviously a popular show within this subculture, but it also feels like people aren't finding it or whatever. So I'm hopeful anyway that with people like you and us doing our jobs, that may change. And it keeps, like, it's obviously gotten renewed twice, and the people making it have confidence in it, it seems like, or the people putting money into it seem to have confidence in it as well. And so do I, and it's really good. But I'm just sort of at flabbergasted from time to time, going like, why aren't more people into this? And it might just be like, it's a YouTube streaming show. Like, if it's not on the big TV box, it's not going to reach people. I don't know. There's no clear answer, but it's interesting to talk about anyway.
if it was on Netflix, it would be the #1 show for years. That would be all anyone talks about. So, I mean,
Yeah.
YouTube gives them the creative control. I believe that's why they signed with them.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I mean, I
interesting.
guess we can get into the episode then. We are smashing right into season 2, episode 1. This is Mercy Part 2. Shoot, who put this? I mean, obviously it's probably a lot of the same names, but let's see who put this one together. Directed by John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg, and of course written by Josh Heald, John Hurwitz, and Hayden Schlossberg. One thing I'll say, even though I love season 2, and I mean, obviously we're just focusing on the first episode here, but I guess it's like it's so hard to capture that same like immediacy that season 1 does, like with the pilot and the way everything kind of starts coming together. I feel like they have to like put the brakes a little bit, because I mean, again, it's a common thing we've talked a lot about with TV. Like TV seasons always end on some sort of cliffhanger or reveal, and then the next season's all about walking that back a little bit because you have to put things back into place to build a season. And I mean, I don't know if this is making sense to you guys, but it does to me, even though I still love it, it feels like things are slowing down a little bit. Maybe it's because Johnny's a different Johnny now. So, you know, he's not always being just a jerk, which is fun to watch. But I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts in general on how we pick up and start season 2?
Drew, do you want to go?
Sure. I mean, you know, we obviously ended with Crease coming back to the dojo, and there were so many questions that season 1 set up for the season 2 opening. But I think for me, at least, that was the big thing. How would Crease affect Johnny? Because, you know, the whole show and like even Karate Kid, it's all about father figures. And you have this guy, Crease, who really like has had this huge impact on Johnny, but Crease isn't even aware of the impact, because even after Crease left, you see Johnny's still been living with that haunted past of Crease, like having taught him to play dirty, choked him, tried to kill him. So now, like, you could even see like William Zappa is freaking unbelievable. He like portrays all the emotions. There's so many subtle things that he does, but like you could really see like it's like a combination of like hurt, pain, and like shock, and just all this overwhelmed feelings seeing Crease come back, because on one hand it's his father figure, someone who he looked up to, but on the other hand it's someone who like kind of abused him. So I was excited to see that, and I love how they went about it with we'll get into that. That's like later on, but yeah.
When I first watched season 2, I do remember it felt a bit jarring, because the series and films takes place in such an elevated universe. Like, it's nothing like reality. Everything's an 80s montage, and like I don't know, it's great to watch, and it pops off the screen, and like it's colorful and everything, but it was difficult to get back into it with the same level of like energy and enthusiasm I had at the end of season 1, just because once you get into it, you're in it. But it did take me a couple of episodes in season 2 as well to get back into that mind space, especially when it opens like with a big fight, where Cobra Kai at other times will like puncture those moments, and like when Johnny shows up at Daniel's house and you expect there to be a fight, and instead they have breakfast sort of thing. And now it's like, it's Crease and Johnny, and they have a big epic fight, like first scene, and now and it's just so extreme that in the first scene I'm not like, ooh, who's gonna win this fight? I'm like, wait, what's going on? Sort of thing. So it did take me a little bit to get back into it. That was the first time. And now, since I just watched all of season 1, I'm still in the same mindset sort of thing. But I think that's also part of why someone just looking in at a clip from the show won't necessarily like get it immediately, because you kind of have to go for the whole wild ride to, you got to get your brain in the right zone for it, or at least I do.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Because even like in this in this opening fight, when they have the broken glass and the way they like he sees his reflection, and then we get the flashback to when he's getting choked out. It is great stuff. But I agree with you a bit. You got to get in that mindset kind of. But I guess my thing and I guess as we discuss more of the episodes, it'll be something we get more into. But Crease is such a wild card, and they spend some time on like what's going on with Crease. Like, I mean, obviously that's going to be the big thing of season 2. So I don't know. It was hard for me to get comfortable in that. I mean, especially even in this first episode, because he's so like he's kind of going for sympathy, but it's like, but we know he's a villain, and they don't even let you, like, not to jump too far ahead, but I mean, I guess it is the end of the episode. He, like, you almost have sympathy for him, and then Johnny goes to get him, but then he gives the smile. Like, I kind of wish they left it more ambiguous in the moment, because it feels like we're ahead of Johnny. But then again, Johnny, of course, has a soft spot for Crease, no matter what their history would be, because he is that father figure to him. So I don't know. I just kind of wish maybe, I guess it does play more ambiguous as the episodes go, but at least by the time this episode ends, his grin is kind of like, haha, I got him. It's not like, oh, my son, my, figurative son is accepting me with open arms. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I would agree. It's a bit of a Terry Silver moment when he's like, haha, my machinations have paid off. And it's like, really? We couldn't, like you said, if we were just led to believe that was more genuine, it gives a bit more three-dimensionality, and you can sort of interpret it a bit more.
Yeah, I was actually I did not even expect them to fight in the beginning. I actually thought I was expecting more of a dialogue, because, I mean, I understand Johnny's been upset, but, he hasn't seen him in all these years. He thought he was dead. I kind of expected a little more dialogue, but, and yeah, at the end, it's tough, because I think that when he was talking to, when Crease was talking to Johnny about, like, in my opinion, you were always the better fighter, fixing his trophy, I think that was all genuine. But then, we see, obviously, he smiles at the end, so it kind of looks like it was all fake. I think it was genuine, but I think his caring for Johnny is genuine, but he wanted to get back into Cobra Kai, and he loves Johnny. And if Johnny is willing to do strike first, strike hard, no mercy, and teach those same ways, then he's all in with Johnny. But as later on, Johnny decides to go against him, and that's when you see Crease's caring for Cobra Kai overpowers his love for Johnny. So
I like that read. I think that is a good read. Like, he does care for Johnny, but he loves Cobra Kai more. Or his version of Cobra Kai. But yeah. So I mean, we'll that's jumping around a bit. We'll kind of dip back in, I guess, because then of course, then we cut to Daniel and Robbie, and they're at Miyagi-Do, and we see the cars, which is awesome. We get a montage. Now, the thing that confused me a bit, and this is a nitpick, so is
it about his arm?
not just his arm, but like, this montage feels like it's like weeks have happened.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? But then we cut back to like the Cobra Kais, and it's like the next day, like after the tournament and everything. This is just a nitpick, so it's not really like I can't call him out too much, but it's funny that we have this whole montage that his arm gets better, he's sanding the floor, they're rebuilding the dojo, and I'm like, wow, some time's passed, and we must be at the end of summer now or something. But no, it's literally like, it's like that weekend or something. It was like the span of a weekend, but that's just how good Miyagi-Do is.
Yeah, no, I had the same reaction just from like his arm getting better, like, and it is such a clear montage, and you always expect there to be like, it doesn't seem like they did all this in one day, but then later Sam's on her phone all upset about the breakup, and Miguel and co, they're at they're having victory nachos or whatever. So unless there's some sort of timeline stuff going on, I'm not sure how it all works out, really.
And then, in the midst of it, I mean, we get a little piece of the family life. He's still asking his son if, maybe he can come down to the dojo this summer. And of course, Daniel's son doesn't want anything to do with that. And his wife is kind of rightfully concerned, like, it's cool that you want to start this dojo, but we also have like a flourishing business that's going to need your attention. But, as Daniel says, balance is his thing. He can handle it all. Right, guys?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, watching back the show, like this is a show you can't just. I mean, you could watch it as many times as you want, but you're always gonna pick up on new stuff. So like the amount of foreshadowing, especially in season 2, episode 1, he says he could balance it all. He says Cobra Kai are the bad guys. All it's foreshadowing because we know, eventually he won't be able to balance it all and all that.
Yeah, because Daniel has a little bit too much confidence in himself sometimes and how he can really handle everything. But
that's how he sells cars, though. You got to get you can't sell cars if you don't have too much confidence.
He's got to be truthful and just be like, look, this is my true passion. It's not these cars. It's this dojo. And just focus on that.
But it's the LaRusso Auto Group. It's not LaRusso's Little Trees.
Then we have some bonding going on with Miguel's mom and Johnny. They have some tres leches. Is it tres leches? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And because I was like, did I mess that up? No, I didn't. So they have a little bonding, and I do like that she speaks to, when we were discussing the finale, I kind of had a different read, but she brings up more of Jacob's read of her reaction to Miguel in the tournament, of how she was kind of in the moment rooting for him, but she's like seeing maybe a change in her son. But she wants reassurance that it's just a game face, it's just for the tournament. But as we know, Miguel, the Miguel we know and love, could be changing a little bit, huh?
Yeah, and it's like we said as well, like all throughout season 1, Johnny is sort of, I don't know if it's the right phrase, but he's like softening his approach or reevaluating what like No Mercy means to him or whatever, but he's still training these kids with the same original mindset. So when they're at the tournament, he gets to see how his own lessons can be, well, not misinterpreted, they're just interpreted, but like he's changed his opinion of what the best thing might be. So he's going to get some friction trying to apply that here in season 2. I think, do we get the there's a few scenes in between, but I mean, when he goes in and lectures them all for doing these underhanded things, that's when we get to see his new redefinition of what does it mean to be Cobra Kai, what does it mean to have the difference between honor and whatever he said in the clip from the beginning there. It's good stuff. It's also like you can't blame these kids for being confused, because so is Johnny.
Absolutely. And Drew, like you mentioned when we were talking about getting into the show before watching Karate Kid. So did you more latch on? You mentioned that you more latched on to, like, say, the younger characters kind of when you first were going through it.
Yeah, I was immediately drawn to Miguel because he was the underdog. He was this nerd. I related much to him, and I thought his transformation in season 1 was unbelievable. How he didn't just do one training montage and then win. He got his ass kicked by Kyler so many times and finally put all the training together. And I thought it came off very genuine and consistent. I don't think they just forced it in. It was very believable. And then season 2, I was actually worried he would I was worried he would be a villain or be evil after season 1. I wasn't sure how they were going to go about it, especially season 2 trailer. You had him putting on the sunglasses. It looked like he was just this badass kid now. But I'm glad that he's still tough. But I'm glad they stayed true to his character. He's not a bad guy. He was just angry during the moment of the tournament.
Well, a thing that I'm sorry to cut you off, Jacob. I was
going to repeat. Oh, well, we did it again. We're not used to having 3 people on the show. Yeah. I was just going to repeat your point that you've said before, Jim, that is that Miguel is the heart of the show. And it's so clear how that works. Go on, Jim.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. That's how
okay, cool.
Jacob and I are. We're going to say the same thing. We interrupt each other to say it. But yeah, in my opinion, what I've been saying as we've been discussing it is that Miguel is the heart and soul of the show, even though it is Cobra Kai, Karate Kid, nostalgia. Johnny and Daniel are there. They're still great characters, but I don't think this show works without Miguel as the heart and soul. And then to an extent, the other younger characters I think are handled just as well, but I think Miguel is kind of that linchpin that holds it all together. And especially, I mean, as we see that, he's maybe not always changing for the better that we would hope, and we have to fight for his innocence and his soul, I guess. But But yeah, I mean, meanwhile, we have Sam. She's seeing Instagram stories. They're having victory nachos. The Binary Brothers are back together with Dimitri and Hawk, which he doesn't want to stop bringing up that nerd shit. And yeah, you know, but Miguel, of course, is still pining over Sam, who just blocked him on Insta. Can't believe that's going down. I mean, I think maybe that's a bit much. What do you guys feel? Is she going too far here, or is it just Miguel's that bad that you have to block him to get him out of your life?
Now, what she could have easily done is just hide the person. Like, you can hide their stories and hide their posts and not have to deal with your ex on Instagram. I'm sure we've all been there. So, like, you don't need to do the thing where actively you vanish. But I guess, yeah, it's hard to get back into the brain space of the last episode of season 1, I think. But Miguel did seem like he was going to beat up the world there. So I guess maybe it makes sense. And he did injure her, even if it was unintentional. He was being a dick. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they could have. I think if they talked it out a little more, maybe they would have figured something out. But that's the theme of this show. It's miscommunication. Nobody wants to talk. Like I always said, like if everybody like just sat in a circle and just discussed their problems, like we'd probably like figure everything out. But nobody will do that.
I think I said something along those lines as well in one of our earlier episodes, that it's like, nobody talks about their feelings if they just like, and especially with Daniel and Johnny, because they're in conflict, but like one always has more information than the other for some reason, and so they're sort of brought into conflict by that. And whenever they're given half a chance, they just have beers and hang out and are hella cool.
We have Crease and Johnny. Johnny goes to meet Crease at the diner. Crease is hitting on the waitress. He's, getting into the brumation of a snake and how he was laying in wait for Cobra Kai to like strike back again. He's been doing some off the book service over in the Middle East, which I guess we'll yet to see if how truthful he's being here. Or, like, is he doing some karate military stuff off the books?
Well, we do know that the military has a karate championship from the films.
Yes, yeah. So just he is luring Johnny back in. Johnny's trying to get away from this, and it is the perfect collision to end season 1 and kind of get into it here as season 2, because it felt like Johnny was on that path where he really was getting better and kind of on the cusp of fixing everything outside of his son and that relationship, and maybe with Daniel and what some of the stuff with Miguel. But it's the worst timing for Crease to be back in and maybe start to bring some of his old bad habits and keep him from bettering himself.
Yeah, and Crease says a lot of stuff that Johnny said himself, like about how, this generation is all broken. You get a medal just for participating, etc., etc. But we're with Johnny, and Johnny is like, I wish Johnny just stayed on this line where he's like, yeah, you're right. The world needs Cobra Kai, but the world doesn't need you. Like, I know what I'm doing. And you just wish he would have sticked with that. But no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately. Good.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, Johnny's you see him like trying to change and trying to get better, but then Crease is really like causing like trouble to that plan. And he's like, you see Johnny then he tries to tell his students like like change his lessons from no mercy to maybe sometimes showing mercy, but then Crease comes back and obviously disrupts that, and it's just a huge setback for Johnny, and it's just so much complications in the show. So
and it's like Johnny is like, his development is in conflict with what's happening, because he's developing to more think like, maybe it's good to have mercy sometimes, or like he wouldn't use those words, but like the problem is that he needs to strike first against Crease. Like, his old way of thinking totally applies to Crease, but he's not going to do that because he's grown and become a better person. Except Crease doesn't deserve you to treat him like a better person. And he sees that as weakness, and he sees that as affirming his worldview, that is that Johnny's being weak by presenting me this opening to get in to Cobra Kai and everything. I will get more into it as the season goes on, but it is interesting then that the fight at the start of the episode, which seemed maybe a little like you said, we would have expected maybe more of a conversation. Johnny's actually falling back on his instincts there and striking first. Like he's like not thinking and not showing mercy, and he's like, "Oh, this man has like haunted me forever. I'm gonna beat him up." It's like very Cobra Kai of him. But then we see all these other influences, and that's how we get to where we are at the end of the episode, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and then meanwhile, the most important thing that happens in this episode, we do see the drum from Karate Kid Part 2, as Robbie picks it up, and Daniel has to tell him that saved his life. Even though if you watch the movie, and we discussed Karate Kid 2, it's not quite clear how the drum saved his life, because it's a close-up on Daniel as he's just like whipping his body around, apparently fighting was it Chosen? Fighting him. But we see that. We also see the Medal of Honor, the rules of Miyagi-Do karate, all great stuff. And I do like that it's kind of underpinned with this, like, because Daniel has it in his mind why he's doing this, because he can't let Cobra Kai take over the valley. But then Robbie at the end's like, "Oh man, my dad's gonna freak when he finds out what he's doing," and it kind of makes it clear to Daniel, it's like, is he doing this for shallow reasons, or is he doing this for like why, like what Mr. Miyagi would do? Like, is he doing it for balance, or is he still doing it for petty revenge?
All the kid, Robbie's obviously looking up to Daniel, so Daniel doesn't have Mr. Miyagi to look up to, so it's up to him to set the right example. And because Daniel's been saying like, "Oh, we're gonna like take down Cobra Kai," that like we're gonna open Miyagi-Do, take down Cobra Kai. That's what Robbie believes in. But when he actually hears Robbie say it, it makes him rethink it. And then they like kind of set that up in a couple other times when he's talking to Sam later on. Yeah.
And I mean, we can kind of like jump around here, because then we have, of course, the hardware store, where we have a nice meet cute between Robbie and Daniel and Johnny. I guess the valley is small. You're going to run into people. And it's the natural thing, I guess, of TV anyways. You just want them to be able to find common ground and repair their relationship. But, he has to get hit with Mr. LaRusso is a better man than you will ever be. And, that's one of the worst things that Johnny can hear, especially he's in this. Johnny, I mean, I've always talked about Johnny's always in this fragile state where he wants to do better, but like the smallest thing could push him the wrong direction. And especially now that Crease is in his life, like it's even more precarious. But, unfortunately, his son is his son and not his father. So his son can't raise him. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think here about the run in with Daniel and Robbie and Johnny?
Yeah, the line of like, he's a better man than you'll ever be feels a bit cliche. The only reason I kind of like it is when he goes out afterwards and tells Daniel that like he cares more about the rivalry between the two of you than he does about anything else. And it's very clear that while he might believe that, it's not as cold as it's intended. He's more just hurt, and he's trying to hurt him back in the best way he knows how, rather than like it has anything to do with this. So that's more of his sort of, my dad's gonna flip. I don't know. He's been hurt, and he's trying to hurt him back, and it's not very Miyagi-Do, but I'm sure he'll get there.
Yeah, at first, the conversation seemed to be pretty like level-headed. No one was getting like angry, but then, Johnny, I think Johnny actually caused Robbie to say that by calling Daniel a prick. Like if he didn't say that, then Robbie wouldn't have said like, "Hey, he's a better man than you'll ever be." So it looked like if they just like if Johnny hadn't said that, I think the conversation would have gone a different way. And also, we meet Stingray in that scene. So
yeah, Stingray's great.
Stingray? Who's Stingray? You mean Raymond?
Raymond.
Yeah, I also it's a good call out as well that like Johnny totally triggers that conversation to deteriorate, because not only is he calling Daniel a prick, he also implies that Robbie's only doing it to piss him off, which makes it seem like he doesn't care about his son. He only cares, like, about himself.
And one thing I got to ask Drew, or actually, I guess I got to ask you as well, Jacob, because going back to like the scene beforehand, Sam goes to kind of try to hang out with Aisha, but she's got Cobra Kai homework. They're going to watch Over the Top. Have either of you gentlemen watched the movie Over the Top?
No, I have no idea what that is.
You guys should watch it. It's a great 80s film. It's Sylvester Stallone. He's a truck driver. It's actually very apt because he's like an estranged father trying to rebond with his son. So he takes his son on the road with him as a truck driver. But he also, as he goes from stop to stop, he takes part in underground arm wrestling matches. And that's the Over the Top.
Yes, sounds like much like Miguel and company, we have some homework to do. I Googled it when they mentioned it because we, nerd out about that stuff. And I just saw loads of stuff of arm wrestling. And I was like, oh, I guess in the 80s you could make a film and it was all about arm wrestling, huh?
It was all about trying to be a good truck driver, but also for extra cash on the side, stopping into some underground arm wrestling tournaments and just how it goes. And it's, taking your son along for the ride. It's a great watch. I would recommend queuing it up. But like, speaking of Sam, I do like how she's going here because, she is trying to hang out with Aisha again, be a better person. And when she has her moment with Daniel, where, again, making things clear outside of what Robbie says to Daniel about like pissing his dad off. And then when Sam's like, well, these are not enemies. Like you're talking about Cobra Kai and evil and how we need to take these people down. But, these are just my friends. These are kids I go to school with. And again, I guess that does push Daniel to the epiphany that he has by the end of the episode. But I think everything ties in pretty well there with him finding more of his Miyagi for Daniel, but also kind of staying on course.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's that he definitely has to. He has to figure out on his own. Mr. Miyagi. It looked like it came so easy to him. And when Daniel was at Mr. Miyagi's grave, he even like said something like that. Was it always so easy for you? So he kind of needs to see it for himself. He needs to see his kids like Robbie and Sam like saying these things to really get him to be in the right mindset and make the right choices.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jacob.
No, I was just gonna say, after we have the broken mirrors and the flashback, as soon as he puts up a new mirror, he gets a flashback in that as well. So clearly these mirrors are haunted and he needs to get rid of them immediately. That's my main point.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of hit on all the beats. Sam does join Miyagi-Do, so we get another student for the good guys, or however your point of view might be. And we had mentioned that when it comes down to the end here, Crease shows up with the rebuilt trophy and kind of plays a little pity party. Not to be mean to him, but it feels like his smile is nefarious. So I'll be a little mean. And then we're set up. We're set up for a whole new season of Cobra Kai.
And we gotta call out the size of the second place trophy. I mean, it's all from the original film, but like, who can even tell the difference between a first and second place trophy? It kind of diminishes all the talk when they're like, it doesn't matter what it says on that trophy. There's like, no, I know, it's huge.
Yeah, exactly.
So that wraps up season 2, episode 1.
Yes.
And like, I think it sets us up, like you said, perfectly for season 2. There's a lot of stuff coming together. We know we're going to see Daniel and his attempt at balancing other stuff in life and karate. And of course, Crease's influence on Cobra Kai feels like it's going to... I mean, honestly, I have a bit of like trepidation going back into this season because I'm like, oh, we were in such a good place. Come on, Johnny, don't fuck it up again. No spoilers, but yeah.
Yeah.
And Drew, so now being such a big fan of Cobra Kai, has the thought crossed your mind of like, I need to look up local dojos and start taking some lessons?
Well, I mean, right now there's obviously we can't do that, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna stick to the videos. I don't think I'm. I don't think I'm cut out for that. But you know, like I'll be in my room sometimes, like doing some random stuff, like just kind of some Miyagi meditation, just messing around.
Well, I mean, because I messaged Jacob this week because I went to the UPS store down the street from where I live, and in that strip mall is a karate school, and I was like, I had the thought in my head, like, do I gotta walk in there and see what's going on in this dojo? And they have a bonsai tree as the logo. I'm like,
The
oh,
symbol, yeah, it felt like it was like a Miyagi-Do ripoff, like copyright infringement logo, basically, and it was in a strip mall. It was perfect. Jim, you got to join up when you can safely.
Yeah. I'm very swayed by the media I like because I also bought bonsai seeds. I'm planting my own bonsai plants. I'm drinking Coors Banquets.
This is very true, yeah.
I'm a mega fan. But anyways, thanks so much for coming on, Drew. I hope you had fun. I thought this was a great discussion. I loved hearing your point of view, especially coming from someone who watched Cobra Kai first before the films. Like, that's super interesting to me. So again, thanks for coming out. And like, for people listening, you heard him mention his YouTube. Go check that out. He's got a lot of cool stuff, and he's keeping the fire going for the Cobra Kai fandom, and that's super appreciated.
Yeah, that's just search for Cobra Kai Kid on YouTube. Or is there anything else you'd like us to shout out, or any final thoughts, Drew?
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me for this stuff. And yeah, this was a really fun discussion. I just love talking about the show, and it's so nice to, you know, because once again, I don't have anyone to talk about it like back at home or whatever. So to have like the online community, and yeah, Cobra Kai Kid on YouTube, and also check out episode 1 recreation. Took a year. It spent a year on that. So, and I have I plan. I don't like, I don't like to just do the same thing. I like to expand it. And I don't just. It's not just Cobra Kai. I like making like movies and like films. So I like to take those skills and like passions and kind of put it with the Cobra Kai. So it's not just like covering news.
Yeah.
I have an idea for like a little series I want to do. I'm not going to really announce it yet because I'm still working out the details, but it will involve a green screen, and it'll be like a sort of like a movie, like a little series skit. So I have a lot of ideas, and I'm excited for season 3.
Sweet. I mean, we'd love to have you back, maybe either again this season or for when season 3 rolls out. So I'm sorry, Jacob. Go ahead. Yeah,
no, I was just gonna say, I'm sure I speak for Jim as well because we're a little bit older. I see so much of myself in you because we get so excited about this media. But then when you find a really, really good piece of film or television or whatever, it makes you want to make stuff on your own, whether that's a recreation or just inspiring in general. And I think that's the thing that keeps me coming back to my favorite pieces of media like Cobra Kai, because it inspires me to partially go out and meditate and like be better in my real life and find balance, but also like just I want to make stuff. Really good stuff just makes me super excited to write and create things, and I'm glad to see that you're inching that way too with the YouTube channel. I'm gonna subscribe right now because I just realized I hadn't. Oh, there you go.
Oh my God! No, okay. Thank you.
We should have let you know at the beginning, because now that we have 3 people, we could, for our outro, we can have Drew do the No Mercy, right?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, are you up for it? Because usually when we end, we'll do a strike first, strike hard, and then we both say no mercy. But we're gonna let you no mercy us out, okay?
All right, so just no mercy. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, like you know the order. So
I know the order. Yeah,
and come in. You know, you got to come in with that fever. Come in with that hotness too. Because
yes, before we do that, we're all getting hyped up. But of course, you can find all of our shows at showswhatyouknow.com. Also wanted to mention reviews on Apple Podcasts. Very much appreciated if anyone wants to sling us a review. Beyond that, of course, Cobra Kai Kid on YouTube. That's about it. Jim, is there one more thing we got to say?
Yes, there's one more thing.
What's that?
Strike first.
Strike hard.
No mercy.
Yeah.